Back in the 1970s, stepping onto a British playground felt like entering a world built entirely for adventure. Metal climbing frames warmed in the summer sun, concrete floors stretched beneath your feet, and wobbly roundabouts spun faster than anyone expected. Children darted between swings and frames, their laughter echoing across the open space, while the occasional gust carried the scent of freshly cut grass. What made it unforgettable was the freedom, no long list of rules, no constant supervision, just a quiet confidence that kids would find their own way. Today's padded, carefully measured play areas feel like a different universe, wrapped in bright colors and gentle surfaces. Looking back, you can't help but marvel at how boldly we explored and how those places shaped a generation's sense of courage and curiosity. Growing up in 1970s Britain meant living in a world shaped by practicality and quiet determination. The post-war mindset was still woven through everyday life, encouraging people to make do with what they had and rely on simple, sturdy materials. Playgrounds reflected that attitude perfectly. Metal frames, wooden beams, and open concrete spaces built not for decoration, but for use. Safety guidelines were lighter, and the national belief was straightforward. Children learned best by trying, stumbling, getting up, and trying again. Neighborhoods were close-knit, with terraced streets and shared green spaces where kids played for hours without interruption. Parents didn't hover or plan activities. They simply trusted that youngsters would explore, sort out disagreements, and return home when the streetlights flickered on. This independence wasn't seen as risky. It was viewed as a necessary part of growing up. In many ways, the playground became a symbol of British resilience and resourcefulness. It taught children to be bold, imaginative, and adaptable. Looking back, that blend of freedom and self-reliance defined the era, setting the stage for the unforgettable playground moments that followed in the years ahead. There was something almost heroic about the metal structures that dominated 1970s playgrounds. They stood tall and unapologetically solid, with giant climbing frames that seemed to stretch toward the clouds. Children approached them with a mix of excitement and determination, gripping the cool metal bars that warmed throughout the day. Towering slides rose at steep angles, their polished surfaces gleaming in the sun, and every climb felt like starting a mini-quest. Even the roundabouts carried a certain mystique. Heavy, sturdy platforms that could spin with surprising speed once a few eager hands set them in motion. Occasionally, a bolt might wobble or a bar might squeak, but no one gave it a second thought. For children, these were features of the adventure, not flaws. Each structure became a challenge to conquer, a test of balance, bravery, and imagination. You weren't just climbing, you were proving something to yourself and your friends, and in that spirited environment, every victory felt enormous. The kind of triumph only childhood can offer. What truly defined those playgrounds wasn't just the equipment, it was the unforgiving surfaces beneath them. Concrete, gravel, and compacted soil formed the foundation of almost every play area across Britain. When you jumped from a swing or stepped off a climbing frame, there was no cushion waiting to break your fall. Instead, your school shoes skidded across gritty gravel, sending soft dust clouds rising around your feet. The chalky scent of disturbed earth became part of everyday childhood. Back then, slipping or stumbling wasn't treated as a crisis. You brushed yourself off, checked your knees, and carried on. It was all part of the unspoken agreement of growing up. A quick glance from a nearby adult, usually delivered from a distance, was more than enough to confirm you'd be fine. There was a quiet resilience in the air, a belief that small bumps built character. And so the playground became a place where you learned balance, judgment, and the ability to bounce back quickly, both literally and figuratively. Beyond the fixed equipment, children created their own adventures, using whatever they could find. Skipping ropes tied between trees became makeshift goalposts, and simple, everyday playthings transformed into imaginative challenges. A patch of grass turned into a rolling hill race, while a stretch of fence doubled as the perfect balancing beam. Kids invented obstacle courses using benches, tree roots, and anything else the playground offered, relying on speed, instinct, and a healthy dose of overconfidence. These moments weren't structured. They were entirely born from imagination. One child suggested a dare, another raised the stakes, and suddenly the whole group was caught up in a lively test of bravery or teamwork. The beauty of it all was the freedom, the chance to create games on the spot, learning cooperation and boldness without anyone choreographing the fun. In these unsupervised pockets of creativity, friendships were built, laughs were shared, and everyday objects became the props of unforgettable childhood adventures. And with each new game, children discovered just how inventive they could be. Looking back, those wild playgrounds taught us far more than we realized at the time. Every climb, scramble, and daring leap helped build a quiet resilience that stayed with us long after childhood. Reaching the top bar of a towering frame wasn't just a physical achievement, it was a moment of pride, a feeling that you'd conquered something genuinely challenging, and when you slipped, stumbled, or misjudged a jump, the laughter that followed softened the moment, turning small setbacks into shared stories rather than worries. Friendships, too, were strengthened in those unplanned moments of teamwork and boldness. You learned who would steady the roundabout, who would cheer you on, and who would try the challenge next. There was a freedom in that world, a sense that you were trusted to explore your limits and decide what felt right. Today's play spaces offer structure, safety checks, and soft landings, and while they bring peace of mind, something of that old independence has faded. Those 1970s playgrounds shaped us in ways we rarely stop to acknowledge, teaching courage, judgment, and a kind of confidence that grew quietly, adventure by adventure. Today's playgrounds, with their soft surfaces, gentle colors, and careful supervision, belong to a very different world from the one we knew. They offer comfort and reassurance, yet they lack the untamed spirit that defined the 1970s, a time when adventure waited around every corner and children learned through freedom rather than guidance. There's no judgment in the comparison, only a quiet recognition that each era shapes childhood in its own way. Still, those old playground memories linger warmly. They remind us of who we were, how we grew, and the simple, unrepeatable magic of a childhood built on curiosity and courage. For more of these unbelievable memories, tap the video on your screen. The 1970s stories are something else. Don't forget to subscribe.